what conservatives and the right don't understand about the attack on Dr. Seuss. It's not about the fact that they're trying to paint him as a racist. That's not the issue. The issue is Dr. Seuss was not a racist. That's why he's being canceled. Hey, make sure you're a subscriber to this channel. They do tend to cancel my subscribers from time to time, so check your status. Make sure that you smack the bell, click the word all to get notification of all of my rants. March the 2nd, the birthday of Dr. Seuss. Now let me just say right out the gate, I was never a huge Dr. Seuss kid growing up. Personally, I thought some of the rhyme meter was off, and it threw me a little bit. And, I wasn't really into the Cat in the Hat or Horton Hears a Who, Thorax, any of it. I liked How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I liked it because, well, Boris Karloff narrated it, and it was a Christmas cartoon. That was the extent of my love of Dr. Seuss. When I became older, in fact, when I got into the ministry, initially a lot of the ministry I did was with kids and with teenagers. And there's a really fun game that you can play with Cat in the Hat because there are repetitive themes throughout the book, repetitive phrases. You'd highlight those and you divide the kids into teams. And when they heard their phrase, they had to get up and move. It was kind of like musical chairs without music, and you would keep removing a chair. It's a lot of fun. That said, never was a big Dr. Seuss guy because in reality and in real life, you do know that Dr. Seuss was a liberal. In fact, he wrote those series of books to combat prejudice, bigotry, racism. It wasn't that long ago that Michelle Obama, the First Lady of the United States, was seen reading Dr. Seuss to school children across America. She participated in the Dr. Seuss National Reading Day. Now all of a sudden, Joe Biden, in his promotion of National Reading Day, March the 2nd, did not put Dr. Seuss on the reading list. Now the whole National Reading Day was all built around Dr. Seuss's birthday. And yeah, you could promote all kinds of authors and all kinds of works, and the idea was to get kids reading, but they specifically chose March the 2nd to coincide with Dr. Seuss's birthday. And after all, a lot of kids like Dr. Seuss. My kids love Dr. Seuss. I have a son in the United States military. In fact, he's in the Naval Academy at Annapolis. He loves those old Dr. Seuss books. In fact, I forget where we were, and he saw one for sale, and he bought it simply because it was a throwback to his childhood. A lot of people have great memories of Dr. Seuss. So what is the problem? He writes these books. Take the book, The Sneetches. Now, The Sneetches is a story about fictional characters, which, by the way, can we please point out the obvious to these people? That these characters and caricatures are fictitious. In fact, if you look at the illustrations in a Dr. Seuss book, I personally find them very crudely drawn. Always have, even as a kid. Even as a little kid, I was kind of a snob when it came to cartoons. There was a lot of the Saturday morning cartoon fare I didn't watch as a kid because I could tell that the animation was cheap. I liked the old Bugs Bunny Roadrunner stuff. One, because it was hilariously funny. Second, the artwork was outstanding. I watch Tom and Jerry to this day. I don't watch the new Tom and Jerry. I don't even watch the Hanna-Barbera Tom and Jerry. I watched the Hanna-Barbera Tom and Jerry when they were with MGM in the 1940s and 50s. Those are great cartoons. Hilariously funny and extremely well drawn. I like the old Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Chip and Dale, the stuff that was released not by Disney, but was released through RKO, their distribution back in the day. Again, good humor, well drawn, very funny, first rate. The stuff that's passing for cartoons today, gut-wrenchingly awful. So I wasn't into the illustrations even within Dr. Seuss, but I could tell you this. Of all the people I have met in my lifetime, I've never met anyone that looked like they came from Whoville. I've never met anyone that looks like any of these depictions in these books. So where they came up with the whole racist canard, I was listening to some professor saying that it's obvious that some of these with their slanted eyes, it's a mockery of Asian people. Oh, please give me a break. The story, The Sneetches, is about two groups of people, some that have little stars on their bellies and some that don't. And they go back and forth. The people with the stars think that makes them better than the people without the stars. But yet some people with the stars are ashamed that they have stars, and they try to get rid of their stars because they want to be like the people that don't have the stars. And there are people that don't have the stars that they want the stars, and they try to figure out how to get the stars. And pretty soon they've got some stars, but they're different colors, and they're not right, and they're not the right shape. And by the end of the book, they all realize it's stupid. If you have a star, great. And if you don't, it's okay, because in reality, we're the same. That was the message of Sneetches. And it was such a simple message that 6-year-old kids could understand. It doesn't matter if you have white skin, black skin, brown skin, red skin, yellow skin. We're all people. And in a lot of ways, we're all alike. And it's okay. And was that not the message of Martin Luther King? Was that not the whole purpose of I have a dream? And what was that dream? That my children will be judged by the content of their character and not the color of their skin. That's the message that's being canceled. Conservatives, listen to me. Patriots, listen to me. What's being canceled right now with Dr. Seuss is not the made-up, fictitious reason that he was racist and you right away start saying, no, he wasn't. The fact that he wasn't racist is exactly why these far leftists, these extremists, want him gone, because it absolutely flies contrary to what BLM and the whole message of systemic racism that's being propagated now, which is the new narrative, the new normal, our new history. That America has always been racist, and it has never done anything to fix it, correct it, or change it. In fact, we are more racist today than when black people were in chains and being used as slaves. That's the message of BLM. That's the message of Antifa. That is the message of the squad. That is the message of the far left. That is the message that they try to spoon feed, and they try to brainwash into inner city young people that America is worse now than it was in the 1860s. That's why they're canceling Dr. Seuss. And make no mistake about it, that's just the beginning. They are going to come for other more adult-oriented literary classics, which were used to begin to tear down the walls between race. Classics like To Kill a Mockingbird. That's going to be gone, 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 gone. Bye, 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 bye. And eventually, and some of you're going to laugh, say, Pastor Marty, you've absolutely lost it now. You know, I've enjoyed some of your stuff, but this one's over the top. You got to be kidding me. They're going to cancel Martin Luther King. You know, Martin Luther King already has got a couple strikes against him. I mean, Martin Luther King considered Thomas Jefferson one of the first civil rights leaders. Ha ha ha. Boy, BLM doesn't want to hear that, do they? And yet, Martin Luther King is on record as having said that. Martin Luther King is on record as having said in the 1960s, no, America certainly has not fully yet lived up to all men are created equal. But boy, oh boy, are we at least on our way and progress is being made. And see, and that's the issue. You cannot let people know that progress has been made. That's bad for business. See, if racism ever actually ends, what will Al Sharpton do for a job? Who will BLM fleece for money? And if we ever show that there was a time in our history, in the 1950s it started, the walls of separation between race began to come down, and people were shocked and horrified when they saw black people on television marching for their rights, marching for the right to vote, were having fire hoses turned on them and dogs turned loose on them. They were shocked, they were horrified, they were sickened by that, and they didn't want it. There were presidents like JFK who wanted to desegregate the schools. In fact, it started under Eisenhower. And then Johnson, working with Republicans on Capitol Hill, signed into law the Civil Rights Act. And yet, today, you would be hard to find young people, especially among young black Americans, to tell you, to explain to you the progress that has been made. Because in their minds, there has been zero progress, nothing has been done, and we are systemically a racist nation. And in order to continue to feed that narrative, you have to erase any vestiges of where slavery and racism and bigotry was called out, was decried, was deplored, was dealt with. Can't have that narrative. Can't have those facts anymore. They're not convenient truths anymore. And Martin Luther King, you watch, you mark it down. Today is March the 3rd, 2021. I will archive this rant because as soon as I say it, you're going to laugh. Some of you will lampoon, but we're going to document that on this day, I declared, we might even say prophesied, that the way they will take out Martin Luther King, you will start to hear some radical professors, probably of color. And by the way, let me pause right there. A few years ago, weren't we told we couldn't say colored people? That's awful. You can't call, they're not a load of laundry. They're not a TV set, okay? I don't purposely want to be offensive, and if they don't want to be called that, fine. What do you want me to say? Black Americans, fine. African Americans, fine. Now all of a sudden, the left is calling them people of color. Wait, what? I thought, it's amazing. Whoever controls the narrative, controls the vocabulary, and they get to decide now it's okay as long as we flip it and make it a prepositional phrase. But it will be a professor or two or educators or people within minority communities that this is the narrative that's going to start. Now listen to me, some of you older civil rights people, you need to pay very close attention because BLM is not your friend. BLM is not a continuation of the struggle. The narrative will be MLK, the whole thing about the FBI trying to stop him, the whole thing about the opposition that he dealt with, it was all staged, it was all fake, that in reality, Martin Luther King was a pawn of the white man. That he actually worked with them, They paid him. He lived well as a result of it. And all the stuff that you saw on TV that was strictly for show, because in reality, his job was to convince black people things are getting better, when in actuality, they were getting worse, and he was getting the payoff, and he cannot be our hero any longer. You mark it down, that's what's coming. Pastor Marty, you got all that out of Dr. Seuss? Absolutely. You know, the Bible says, be sober, be vigilant, for your adversary the devil walketh about as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. See, we constantly, in our minds, we have this depiction of evil as being this roaring beast that drives you to do wicked, nasty things. And though there is a part of the devil that he can operate that way, in the way he moves people like pawn pieces on a chessboard, let's not forget what the name Satan, which his actual name is Lucifer, angel of light, all of it means one thing: deceiver. Deceiver. And because he can appear as an angel of light, he can make you think this is good, when in reality it is wretchedly horrible. That's why we were warned also in Scripture, be as harmless as doves, but be wise like serpents. They come along, they tell us you can't expose your kids to this because it's racist. Now, the knee-jerk reaction is to lampoon it, to make fun of it, which a lot of political commentators did yesterday. And then that only further plays into their narrative. Why these white racist commentators defending an absolute bigot like Dr. Seuss. And what happens is, so many in the young generation who don't really know how to think critically, ask questions, and process, and it's only going to get worse as we keep kids out of school and then pump drugs into them to stunt their growth, although we're waiting for them to tell us what sex they are, right? No, it's all about making them functionally stupid so that all they do is what they're told to do, and they never ask questions, they never push back, and they don't critically think. We have a generation now that they don't know how to communicate or think unless they got this little rectangle black phone in front of them that they're watching things on and getting all their information from it. And all you have to do, as Adolf Hitler said, as the minister of propaganda for Adolf Hitler, Mr. Goebbels said, take a lie and just keep repeating it. And no matter how many contradictory facts are thrown at you, just keep repeating the lie. And eventually, the majority believe the lie. Masks. Masks save lives. Masks don't do anything. They may make you feel good. They may make you feel you're being proactive and doing something. But let's get real. We have all these cases, and they go up and down and up and down, and guarantee you that the vast majority of people who have had this virus, and even many who may have, because of other health extenuating circumstances going on, succumbed and it became fatal to them, I guarantee you the vast majority who have been sick or worse wore masks. And yet we have states do no masking, South Dakota, soon to be Texas, Florida, others. Their numbers are just about the same as everybody else. But yet, they told us in February, don't mask. By March, you got to mask or you're going to die. And within a week or two, everybody was doing it. And now it's to the point, there are people, and I mean people that I know, that I've known my whole life, that I always consider to be incredibly smart people, that even if tomorrow they said you can take them off, if Dr. Fauci and the CDC and the WHO all French kissed up on the stage together to prove to you it's okay, I guarantee you at least half the country will stay masked. You let them start saying MLK was a pawn of white racists. that will become the believed narrative among the young black generations. Hey, Cornell Washington, what are you going to do about that? Are you preparing the young generation of black people not to throw Martin Luther King under the bus? Because they're coming for him. See, again, you thought they were just coming for Confederate statues. Oh, no, nay, nay. You thought they were just coming for those evil white guys like George Washington. Oh, no, nay, nay. They're coming for some of your heroes, too. They're coming to rewrite history, to change the narrative so that they can stay in control and, to a certain degree, grift. That's what the attack on Dr. Seuss is. In reality, Dr. Seuss was a liberal. If he were alive today, he would be in absolute shock that his work is being depicted this way. And his own foundation to go ahead and discontinue 6 of his titles. Now, I'm sure as part of that they did, thinking if we throw something overboard, we'll be left alone. They won't come for the Cat in the Hat. They won't come for Horton Hears a Who. They won't come for fill in the blank. So we'll throw out these 6 titles, a couple of which I'd never even heard of before. The only thing that they accomplished was, in attempting to appease this group, in that group's mind, you acknowledged guilt. You acknowledged fault. And now they're really going to come after you. Give someone like that an inch, they'll think they're a ruler. When you give in to and you appease, you never, ever earn the respect of those you're trying to appease. They will see you as weak. They will see you as guilty. And now they're really going to come for you. Now they are coming for the Cat in the Hat and How the Grinch Stole Christmas and Horton Hears a Who, etc., etc., etc. On the other hand, somebody who wanted to black market print those books, who wanted to find as many of those books still in print out there, buy them and sell them, there's money to be made because, we tend to do that here too. But you need to understand now, even some of the classic liberals who spent their lives engaged in civil rights and wanting to end racism, wanting to end this idea that there's a difference between black and white, that we're all the same, we're all God's children. That can't stand anymore. Even though that is what the classic liberal movement was all about in the 60s and 70s. See, the new black movement, BLM, they don't want to be judged by the content of their character. Because their character is corrupt, it's vile, it's evil, it's violent, it's illiterate and uneducated. They want to terrify you, control you, and manipulate you simply by the color of their skin, because now they've declared, we don't want to be equal, we want to now be in charge. It is the death, not of the Cat in the Hat. It is the death of Martin Luther King's dream.
I have the pleasure to present to you Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. 50 years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification. One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day when all of God's children be able to sing with new meaning, my country, tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. And so let freedom ring. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the mighty mountains of New York, Let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring, and when it happens, when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God